95% of all Bitcoin's been mined, but 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin.
Tom Lee is super bullish right now and has the S&P 500 hitting 6,600 soon. In addition, Bitcoin is predicted to go parabolic. Stay until the end of this video to find out the specific reason why and how you can prepare to take advantage. Now, let's jump right into it with this video from Tom Lee.
It's the first trading day of June, second day of June. Our first guest today says the current market looks more like the start of a new bull rather than a late cycle bull, and that could mean some good buying opportunities. Joining now is Tom Lee, Fundstrat Capital CIO and head of research and a CNBC contributor. He's very calm, even in the face of adversity, but this time the markets have come back to you in a big way. Because at this point, I think they've exceeded your targets they were a couple of months away from where we are right now, and we're already there. So you're raising your targets overall?
Yes, I think, when at the April lows, we thought we could make a move back to 5,500.
Right, we're at 5,900 on the S&P.
That's right. But our full year target was 6,600. So I think that's still a reasonable expectation.
You never changed that.
We haven't changed it.
Never did. Even on April, the week of April 2nd or 7th or 2nd, you didn't change it.
No, it felt very shaky because that would have been, a couple 1,000-point move needed. But now that I look at 2026, I think businesses are in better shape now than they were in February. So I think making 6,600 actually seems more achievable today than it did in February.
And you think a bull market started April 7th, or a new bull market started April 7th? In everything because the NASDAQ already, if you just use 20% to measure what is an actual bull market, people think we need a broader indicator, a broader reason to call something a bull. But at this point, I think the S&P is also in a bull market.
Yeah, I think that the waterfall decline into the April lows was such a reset of sentiment. People talked about Armageddon, and we saw some of the most rapid deleveraging of hedge funds ever, and a collapse in investor sentiment, and a huge change in positioning. So those are, I think, things that look like what happens in a bear market. And the ISM has never broken above 50 in a sustained way. Market tops usually need an ISM to stay above 50 for a period of time. So I think we're at the start of a bull market. And as I look at 2026, I think housing could actually be a big lever to pull next year.
What do you think of the recent inflation data? And is it real? Is it lasting? Is it going to turn around and head back up because of tariffs? Were you surprised at those numbers on the last couple of Friday and then a couple weeks before then?
Well, as you know, the inflation for the last month actually has defied expectations because a lot of people said these shortages would cause a spike, and instead core inflation actually has been trending lower. But to me, inflation was really a story about housing and auto insurance. Those were powering inflation for the last 2 years. Combined, that's 75% of the rise in inflation. Housing is actually now subtracting from inflation month over month. And I think in some ways, on a real-time basis, that tells me I don't think core inflation is actually going to be turning up, even if goods prices go up.
You don't?
No, I kind of agree with Waller's comments.
You do agree with Waller's comments?
Yeah.
So you're anticipating cuts, several cuts this year?
Well, I think that if core inflation behaves, then we are in a really tight real rate environment, right? 4.5% monetary policy and 2.5% or 2% core inflation. There's a need to actually reduce interest rates.
Do you, Tom, at this point think that interest rates, because it doesn't matter whether we reduce or not, would the long end go up if they reduce the short end because of $37 trillion or this bill that's the big, beautiful bill? Are there worrisome things on the horizon other than inflation, current inflation?
Well, yeah, the U.S. is on an unsustainable sort of path for deficits, but Japan's actually had higher rates, and their interest rates have been behaving for a long time. Not recently. So I think the long end is essentially unpredictable. When investors worry about it rising too dramatically, then I think that's when the bond market can have some influence on both the Fed and the Treasury. But I think at these levels, it's not that alarming.
So what's Bitcoin? What is it moving with? Just risk assets at this point? It got back to an all-time high, which you were forecasting as well. But now I think, what are we, 104 this morning? So it's pulled back.
Yeah, I think it's consolidating. It makes sense. Bitcoin is responding to global liquidity, which is moving up, and I think anticipating a dovish Fed next year. So that's a tailwind for Bitcoin. But, Bitwise has a great stat. 95% of all Bitcoin's been mined, but 95% of the world doesn't own Bitcoin. So I just think that there's still a huge demand versus supply imbalance, meaning there's a lot more potential buyers of Bitcoin over the next 10 years. And so I think there's a lot of upside into year end.
Into your like 150 target.
Yeah, 150, maybe 200, even 250 this year.
What? 150 to 200 to even 250. And what's you don't have a terminal price on that, do you?
Well, it's I think at a minimum it should have the same network value as gold. And if you look at above ground gold, it's probably 23 trillion. So that would be, 1.2 million for Bitcoin. But I think Bitcoin is more valuable than gold. So, Bitcoin could be 2 million, 3 million long term. Even higher. Okay.
Thank you. And we're talking years, obviously, but 95% mined. I don't think the last one is mined till 2150 or something.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder.
Yeah, depending on what decimal you want to use, it's probably like, 2040 or something. But yeah, but if you're having something forever, it'll always.
So what's your terminal value?
That's what we just said.
Yeah,
the final.
He said 2.5 million.
2.5 million at the end.
Yeah.
Or maybe higher.
Or maybe
even
higher.
I didn't appreciate that point.
Yeah, it could.
One of the best things you can do is stay invested for the long haul and not try to time the market. And also, if you're looking to invest into Bitcoin, please do your research and dollar cost average so you can withstand the volatility. I own an accounting firm, and if you need accounting services and bookkeeping for your small business, the link will be in bio and also below. Please feel free to sign up for a free consultation. I have an article to share with you guys from Barron titled Nvidia Stock Gains, What's Driving the Chip Maker. Nvidia stock was rising on Monday as investors adjusted to the new tension about trade. Shares in the chip rose 1.2% to 136.73 in the early trading hours. Nvidia last week reported strong earnings, but it still faced a potential obstacle in a flare-up in trade tension between China and the U.S. China's Ministry of Commerce said that the White House had severely undermined the consensus reached at the Geneva trade talk days after Donald Trump said that China has totally violated its agreement with Washington. If the world's two largest economies aren't able to reach a deal, that could put a dent in Nvidia's bottom line. In April, Trump effectively banned sales of the company's advanced H2O chip to China. Last month, CEO Jason called the measure a failure and that it would hit sales by about $15 billion. Nvidia is working on a chip for the Chinese market, according to multiple reports. However, the company told Barron last week that it's still evaluating its option and it's effectively foreclosed from selling in China currently. That's it for today, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and click the link below if you have a small business that's in need of bookkeeping and accounting services. My firm is able to help. Thank you and see you next time.